Hey, listener, welcome back. Ever feel like you're just juggling a million things and can't squeeze in time for learning English?
Yeah,
Well, today
it's tough.
we are diving into a simple but super effective 5-day plan
Right.
that can help you make real progress,
Yeah.
even if you only have a few minutes each day.
What's so fascinating about this approach is how it leverages the psychology of habit formation,
Perhaps so.
Instead of trying to climb Mount Everest in a day, we're focusing on small, achievable steps.
Okay.
Research shows that this actually leads to greater long-term success because it taps into things like the Zeigarnik effect,
Oh, wow.
where our brains are wired to crave closure on unfinished tasks. It
Yeah.
keeps us motivated to continue.
So instead of feeling overwhelmed, you're actually building momentum and positive reinforcement.
Precisely. And instead of diving into a sea of grammar rules and vocabulary lists each day, focuses on mastering just one element.
Okay.
One new vocabulary word, one cool expression, one of those idioms that makes you sound super fluent. It's like building a house brick by brick.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's break down this 5-day plan. What's on the agenda for day one?
Day one kicks off with a vocabulary word that's both powerful and versatile.
Okay.
Ambiguous?
I'm ambiguous.
When something isn't clear or has multiple meanings?
Right. Yeah.
It's a word you can use in so many contexts,
Okay.
from deciphering confusing instructions to navigating those tricky social situations
hmm
where someone's smile could mean 10 different things.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm already imagining how useful this word could be in everyday conversations.
Right.
What about you, listener? Do you ever encounter situations where things are a bit ambiguous?
And here's where it gets even more interesting.
Yep.
For those who want to level up their vocabulary even further,
Uh-huh.
ambiguous has some fantastic synonyms,
Oh, okay.
like equivocal or nebulous.
Nebulous. I like the...
Suddenly, you're not just communicating clearly, you're communicating with style and nuance.
Ooh, I like it. Okay. Day one is all about sounding smart and navigating those gray areas.
Right.
What about day two? What linguistic gem are we uncovering next?
Day two tackles a phrase that's perfect for those moments when you're just completely stumped
Oh,
at a loss.
okay.
You know that feeling when your brain freezes and you can't find the right words?
Yep, been there.
Whether you're confused by a situation or just can't articulate your thoughts at a loss, perfectly captures that sense of being overwhelmed.
Wouldn't it be more effective to push through that feeling and try to come up with the right words? Isn't there a risk of overusing at a loss and becoming
That's a great question.
at a loss?
And it highlights the importance of balance.
Right.
At a loss is a fantastic phrase for expressing a specific emotion.
Okay.
But it shouldn't become a crutch. The
But,
key is to use it strategically. And as you continue to expand your vocabulary, you'll naturally find more nuanced ways to express yourself.
I like that it's like having a toolbox full of different communication tools and knowing which one to use for the right job.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got ambiguous for those nuanced situations and at a loss for when we're feeling overwhelmed.
Uh-huh.
What's next on our 5-day adventure?
Day three is where we dive into the colorful world of idioms.
Oh, fun.
They're like cultural shortcuts packed with meaning that goes beyond the literal words.
Yeah.
And the idiom we're exploring today is one that I'm sure everyone can relate to.
Okay.
Add fuel to the fire.
Ooh, I love that one.
Right.
It's so vivid and memorable.
It is.
It perfectly captures that feeling of making a bad situation even worse.
Yes.
It's like, oh, I don't know, someone's trying to calm down an argument, but then someone else jumps in with a snarky comment.
Exactly. Or
Yeah.
imagine a political debate where one candidate makes a controversial statement
Uh-huh.
and the other candidate seizes on it, amplifying the controversy and further dividing public opinion.
Yeah,
They're adding fuel to the fire.
they are. And that's what makes idioms so crucial for fluency, right?
Yes.
They add depth and color to your language, and they help you connect with native speakers on a cultural level.
Absolutely. They're like little windows into the soul of a language, revealing its humor, its history, and its unique way of looking at the world.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it.
And speaking of connecting with native speakers, day four tackles those tricky phrasal verbs
Oh, yeah.
that can often leave learners feeling, well, a bit at a loss.
Ah, nicely done.
Right.
So which phrasal verb are we tackling today?
The one we're focusing on is act up.
Okay.
It's incredibly common and can be used in a variety of situations.
Mm-hmm.
Think of a child who's misbehaving, a computer that's glitching, or even a knee that's giving you trouble.
Right.
They're all acting up.
Yeah, it's interesting how one phrasal verb can encompass so many different scenarios, right?
I know.
It's like a linguistic Swiss Army knife.
It is.
But for someone just starting out with phrasal verbs,
Right.
how would you suggest they approach learning and using them effectively?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I'd say the key is to focus on understanding the context.
Okay.
Pay attention to how native speakers act up in different situations.
Right.
Don't just memorize the definition. Try to grasp the nuance behind it.
Okay.
And of course, don't be afraid to use it yourself.
Yeah.
The more you practice, the more natural it will become.
Practice makes perfect, or at least progress, as they say.
Right.
Okay, we've covered a new vocabulary word, a handy expression, a colorful idiom, and a versatile phrasal verb.
Yes.
What does day 5 have in store for us?
Day 5 is where we get truly creative.
Ooh.
Instead of learning a specific word or phrase,
Huh.
you're challenged to describe an image
Okay.
using 3 sentences.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah,
So it's like taking everything we've learned throughout the week and putting it into practice in a more expressive way.
exactly. It could be any image, a photo you find online,
Mm.
a picture from a magazine, or even something you draw yourself.
Oh, cool.
The goal is to use your newly acquired vocabulary and grammatical structures.
Right.
To paint a vivid picture with words.
Oh, I like it.
For example, the material we are looking at suggests describing a scene of colleagues giving each other high fives in the workplace.
Oh, that's great.
You know,
I love that it's not just about memorizing definitions. It's about actively using language to create something new.
yes,
It's like going from being a language consumer to a language creator.
exactly.
But let's be honest, listener. Life gets busy.
Right.
How can we ensure that we stick to this 5-day plan and really make those new language elements a part of our everyday communication?
That's where consistency and active application come into play.
Okay.
Think of it like working out. You wouldn't expect to see results if you only went to the gym once a month, right?
No.
The same applies to language learning.
Right.
The key is to make it a regular habit, even if it's just for a few minutes each day.
So it's not about cramming everything in at once. It's about consistent bite-sized learning that fits into your life.
That makes a lot of sense. But what are some practical strategies for incorporating these new language elements into our daily routines?
One simple but effective technique is to use flashcards.
Okay.
Write the new word or phrase on one side and the definition or an example sentence on the other.
Right.
You can review them throughout the day whenever you have a few spare minutes.
That's a classic. For a reason. It's portable, flexible, and helps reinforce those neural pathways.
It does.
What other strategies would you recommend?
Another powerful technique is to find a language partner or join a language exchange group.
Okay.
Speaking with others is one of the best ways to improve your fluency and confidence. Plus, it's a lot more fun than studying alone.
Absolutely. There's something about interacting with other learners that really brings the language to life.
Yes.
It's like stepping out of the textbook and into the real world. But what about those moments when we might feel self-conscious or afraid to make mistakes?
Mm-hmm.
Any advice for overcoming those language learning hurdles?
Remember that everyone makes mistakes when learning a new language. It's part of the process.
Yeah.
Instead of seeing them as failures, view them as opportunities to learn and grow.
Yeah.
Embrace the challenge, and don't be afraid to laugh at yourself along the way.
I love that it's about shifting our mindset from fear of failure to a celebration of progress.
Exactly. And remember, you don't have to be perfect to be fluent.
Right.
The goal is to communicate effectively, and that comes with practice and a willingness to put yourself out there.
So to recap, we've got our 5-day plan with its focus on bite-sized learning and variety.
Uh-huh.
And we've got our practical strategies for consistent practice and active application.
Yes.
Listener, what's resonating with you the most so far? What are
Yeah.
you most excited to try out? For me, it's that emphasis on small, consistent steps. It's
Yeah.
so easy to get caught up in the idea that we need to make huge leaps to see progress. But this plan reminds us that real learning happens gradually, brick by brick.
Yeah, it's about building those neural pathways, strengthening those connections in our brains, one new word, one new expression at a time. And what's remarkable is how this approach can be applied to so much more than just language learning.
That's what I find so exciting. It's like we've stumbled upon a blueprint for self-improvement, a framework that we can use to level up in any area of our lives.
Right. Imagine applying this 5-day plan to learning a new instrument, for example.
Oh,
Day 1, you might focus on mastering a few basic chords. Day 2, you could practice a simple strumming pattern. Day 3, you might try playing along to your favorite song.
oh yeah, you're breaking down a complex skill into manageable chunks, building momentum and confidence as you go.
Yeah.
It's like that saying, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Exactly. And by focusing on those small steps, we avoid feeling overwhelmed and increase our chances of sticking with it for the long haul.
So listener, As we wrap up our deep dive into this powerful 5-day plan, I have a challenge for you. What's one area of your life where you'd like to see growth or improvement? What's one skill you've always wanted to learn or one habit you'd like to develop?
Take a moment to think about it now. Imagine breaking that goal down into 5 manageable steps. What would those steps look like? What could you do each day to move yourself closer to your goal?
Remember, it's not about perfection, it's about progress. It's about embracing the journey and finding joy in those small victories along the way. And who knows, maybe this 5-day plan will spark a chain reaction, leading you to unlock your full potential in ways you never thought possible.
So go out there, listener, and create your own 5-day plan. Embrace those small steps, celebrate those little wins, and watch as those tiny ripples of effort transform into waves of positive change.
Until next time, happy learning.